So hello friends, today I'm going to show you how to work on this fantastic lens. We are talking about the Minolta Rokkor 58mm 1.2 bokeh monster, super low light performance, and then it needs a bit of help. This lens was sent to me for repair, and then it has quite some issues. The first and most obvious that you see there is that the diaphragm is full of oil, so we're going to take care of that. It was initially blocked, but then while disassembling and then understanding how the lens is built, I needed to clean because there was a lot of oil inside the lens, and then by doing so I was able to absorb a bit of that oil, and then the thing is able to move now, but then as you can see it is rather dirty. Okay, that we're going to do in this video. Then obviously, as the lens was full of oil, this means the oil needs to come from somewhere, and then this means for sure that the grease used for the helicoid is separating, so at some point it's going to get really stiff. So we'll be doing that on another video, but then you start to feel it already. The focusing is not super smooth. So, and then, well, last thing, the glass seems to be a bit hazy, and then those shiny spots that I hope they are not separation, and then we will be taking care of that on a third video. So right now I'm going to show you how to reach the diaphragm of this lens. So please be ready, follow what I'm doing if you're going to reproduce this, because this is not an easy lens to work on. So let's start by opening the lens, and then first thing, you find a ring here, and then don't remove it. It doesn't do anything, so you will be wasting your time. So first thing, we tackle the lens from the bayonet. We'll need to remove the whole optical assembly. So this is quite a complete disassembly, as you will see. So you see here that I already marked some screws blue, the others not, and then the reason is there are very short screws here, and then those are keeping the bayonet together, so we don't want to disassemble them because we don't have any issues with the bayonet. So I take out the blue ones, which are a bit longer, as you can see here. Then I am able to remove the bayonet. Then here we will need to remove the aperture ring, which is here, and then you just need to pay attention that it is connected here. There's a connection between here and here, so don't forget about that. When reassembling, I'm going to show it to you again anyway when reassembling the lens. So we remove this guy, and then here you need to pay attention because there is this small ball that just fell, and then that's for going in this really small hole here, and then it will do the clicking sound that you just heard before when passing over here. Then here you find yourself with this, and then there are 4 screws here, but before removing them, please notice that I have already built a lot of markings around my lens. So what I did, I just came to the infinity position here, and then I mark it. I just put tape because we are going to work with some oil stuff, so the marks risk of going away. So I marked them, I taped them, so I have no risk of losing my marks because of oil or whatever. So this is just the reason for that. And then to keep disassembling the lens, since we want to remove the optical block, we need to remove these 4 screws here, but then I recommend making marks before doing that, because once we will remove this, we will be disconnecting the helicoid between the 2 parts, so, and then the lens will be able to move freely. And then if you don't do any marks, you might find trouble when reassembling the lens. Okay, so we remove this guy, and then the screws are still in. I just will remove them. Okay, I'm putting things aside, and then I just want to show you something. Then you have this lever here, which is going inside this slot. This is a classical helicoid construction, and then what it does is that when you rotate the body of the lens, it keeps the inner helicoid from rotating, and then it just moves back and forth. So, and then since we have removed it, now everything is able to move freely. So what I did is I made the same mark as before below, same mark here, and then this part you can actually unscrew it, so you are able to disassemble this helicoid part. We're not going to do that right now, so moving this guy right now for this repair will be a bit useless, but then anyway, just make some marks on it so you are sure you're not losing the position. And then here, what I'm going to do now is to unscrew partially the helicoid. So you see I have already made a mark there. I will need to remove the helicoid entirely, but then I just need to do this operation so I can make these screws here appear. There are 3 of them, and then I just need to be sure of something before. Okay, I'll need to clean, because as you can see there is a bit of oil in the lens, and then there's a bit everywhere. I have already cleaned a bit. But then this is somehow very annoying, and then if we don't clean it thoroughly, the aperture might get oily again very quickly. So, and then what I do, I just want to mark, well, I don't really need this position. I know the arrow here is close, and then this arrow is just to indicate that if I go a bit further here, my helicoid would separate. I don't want to do that right now. Okay, and then we can remove this shell here, and then this is what I was telling you in the beginning. This thing here you can disassemble, but then you won't be doing much with it. And then here we find ourselves with this. So it's not the most comfortable configuration to work on a lens, but then we have discovered here 4 screws, and then before going further, what I want to do, is this, just to make sure I made another arrow here already, and then it's just to know the position where I need to put the optical assembly when putting it back. And why is that important? Because you have all these levers here on the back that you need to be properly aligned. So that's for that. So yet another marking. Here is close to infinity, and then with that we'll remove these 4 screws. I have these 4 guys gone, and then here you go. We have reached the point we wanted to reach, which is the optical assembly. And then here, as you can see, I already cleaned it yesterday, and yet there is some oil coming. So for sure the next thing we will be doing is to clean that helicoid, and then you will see that on another video. Okay, we need to remove the optical parts, and then that's rather simple. So we get one side, we put it aside. For this one, first time I remove it, I really use it rubber gloves because it's quite tight. Now it's a bit loose, so not a big deal, but then just for you to know. Okay, and then here we reach the culminating point of this repair, and then that's the diaphragm. And then here we need to remove the parts now, just to clean it. And then this is a rather different diaphragm, like from the Nikons we usually do in this channel, but then I will explain to you how it works. So I just need a small screwdriver to start with. And then, okay, so this diaphragm here has 8 blades, as you can count them, and then the functioning is as follows. So we have a little ring here. So this ring I'm touching with my finger, and then there are 3 set screws here that you can see actually also on the inside. Just let me try to get this to hold properly, because I don't want, and then you don't want to bend these little parts. So I will remove the ring, and then I hope I don't mess the diaphragm while doing it, because I want to show you the construction of it, so that you get familiar with a different construction of diaphragm. I get the little ring, and then here you have this part where you have 2 holes, and then you can rotate it if you want. See, So, but we don't see the usual slots you see in other diaphragms that are going to move the cams. So this is a bit puzzling. So what we're going to do is to remove this. Okay, we mess with the diaphragm, but then here pay attention to this. I remove this ring and you have this small slot, and then this is going to move a very small pin here. It is extremely small. Try to zoom for you, and then here you have the very little pin, and then this pin, just remove this guy, is going to move here. So, and then there's a pin here behind which is going to move with this thing, and then there is a hole here which is going to keep the second pin or pivot if you want fix, and then this is why you get the motion of this diaphragm. Interesting construction. So what we're going to do now is just to take all these people out. Well, not this one, because it is attached. I put a tight fit part, so I'm talking about this here. So this we won't be able to remove, so we'll have to live with it. But then we got our diaphragm, we got our parts, and then what we're going to do now is to go and fetch the cleaning stuff. So I am back, I am ready for the cleaning of the oily parts, and then this is not really difficult. You will need something like a cup, then you will need some solvent just to remove the oil. So I'm using lighter fluid, but you can use gasoline, barbecue gas, all those things work as well. And then just a sheet of toilet paper to clean the stuff. So the blades are the most critical part. So what I do is I put them on a small cup, and then I use the solvent just to work there. And then that bell outside is telling me it's noon. So what I'm going to do now is just to let sit this for a few minutes, and then in the meantime what you can do is to, using a cloth that you will put some lighter fluid in, we will start the cleaning of the other parts just to make sure. Then this I think I can do off the camera, but then you get the idea. The only thing I ask you to do is, when you're doing this, do it on a ventilated place, because this thing is rather toxic, so, and not very good for breathing. I have my window open, this is why you heard the window, the bell. And then for the diaphragm here, so what we can do, once it has sit a bit on the lighter fluid, so we take the blade, we pass it a bit on the toilet paper, and then we just dry the gasoline. Okay, I think you really get the idea of this. So what I'm going to do is to finish it off the camera. I will clean all the parts to remove all traces of oil. I told you this is not 100% like the real thing to do, because the oil will come eventually, because the grease here on the helicoid is separating. And then my focusing is terrible as well. But then what you can do next is to clean the helicoid and then remove the grease. I'll show you how to do that on the next video. So see you in a few seconds for the reassembly of the lens. Okay, I am done with the cleaning, and then we'll start reassembling the lens, and then we will start by maybe the most complicated part. That will be the diaphragm. So we have this part here that we couldn't remove because it's attached to the other side, and then we have this ring that we need to make sure that we have this little pin here going up. So we'll put it in these two parts center with respect to each other, and then what we do for assembly the diaphragm is we get the holes and the slots aligned, and then just to put the parts in position I will get maybe a useful tool. Okay, so let me try this. This is a flat tweezer, and then it works quite nicely. So what I just did, just for you to know, so I have here, this is the typical blade, and then you have there two pins, and then one pin goes into the hole and the other goes into the slot, and then it is the relative motion between the two of them that makes the blades close or open. And then here so we put the second blade, and then let me tell you, this is not a very easy diaphragm to assembly, or at least I haven't found the right way to work on it. So if you know or you have a better idea, I will be glad to hear about it. So, and then you can write that in the comments. So far so good, but then the difficult part of assembling a diaphragm is the last blades are usually the most tricky ones. And then here something move. We pull it back just to get some support from the structure itself. So, and then I forgot to mention that, but then you might notice that I am mounting the blades in a counterclockwise manner. So, or no, this is really a clockwise manner. So it moves in the same way as the clock. So, and then usually, like Nikkor lenses, I think all the diaphragms mount in a counterclockwise way. And then here we start reaching the critical points. because we'll start putting as before the blade goes on top of the previous one, but then we need to get the ones that were before above. So in this case I will need to move this guy a bit. So okay, and then this is what I mean with this diaphragm being not easy to mount, because here we reach the tricky part. Okay, I managed to get it above, so we'll get some support, and then the approach I found for the last one. And then the trickiest one to put is to close the whole thing down as much as possible, and then okay, push them a bit, and then look for passing just below the previous one all the way. Okay, and then I am completely below the previous one, which I am not 100%. Again, and then I got also below the previous one, not what I wanted to do. Oh, okay. Oh, I got it. Yes. Okay. I need to be extremely careful now. I got all the guys in position. And then we need to put this cover here. Make sure we have the opening aligned with the little pin, or otherwise it's not going to mount correctly. And then we'll need to redo that assembly, that, as you have noticed, it is far from being the simplest. Okay. No! Okay. I will do it all over off the camera, but then you have seen how difficult it is. So, see you in a few seconds. Okay, after a second trial I managed to get it right, and then I put the plate with the slot and the pin aligned as I just mentioned it, and then here we put the ring that is going to block everything together, and then just tight not entirely, because I think we'll need to do some adjustment. I'm not 100% sure of that yet. Okay, let's try just by blocking the whole thing, and then we'll get it loose. If not right, so here. Okay, so here I think this would be like the maximum position, and then we'll need to adjust so it opens entirely. Okay, so this is it, and then I think we can block it right now. And then now the actual movement of the thing. Okay. Okay, this is still not 100% right, so let's close it now. Okay, this is a bit of the work of setting a diaphragm right. So here now we go, okay, block, okay, this is the work of setting a diaphragm right. That is the kind of thing you do only once. Okay, so let's fix this again. Okay, and then here I have the opening of the whole thing, and then okay, from behind seems a bit weird. Obviously here we're not doing it. Okay, perfect. So we have this part working. So now we'll put back the glass, and then here I have even traces of oil here, which is highly unusual. So I will try to clean it. without touching the glass. So it's fairly clean. Okay, here we go. Then first half. The optical block. Then same thing here. A lot of oil. And then I think I have to be honest with you. I think it is the first time in my life I see so much oil on a lens. Okay, and then as I told you before, I try not to touch the glass. And then here, and it's quite clean now. Well, at least regarding the oil, we still have some stuff that we'll need to treat later. I need to go and check closely what that thing is. I hope it is not separation. It seems to be behind the first element. So, and then the optical recipe of this lens tell me that the first element is not adopted. So there's a chance it is just dirt, and then I see just a bit of haze behind. So let's hope it is not separation, but we'll check that on another video. So in the meantime, let's keep reassembling this guy. So we use our cue of before, and then here I have this thing here. Let me just use a base, and then we'll put the 4 little screws. Okay, so we fix the front element, or the optical element actually, and then I need this part, which is the cover, and then I have my cube, have it somewhere in here with respect to the infinity. Okay, that's it for the front, and then now we screw it in position, and then this is about it, and then here we proceed to put the back here, and then my cue for knowing my assembly is right is I have this thing that goes about in the middle, and then here this part which manage the diaphragm is aligned with this side here. So this tells me I am not so bad assembly wise. And then here okay, so here I put this part in. I'll need maybe to align the holes here. Okay, and then here I am about right. Put my marks, and then the holes. Alright, and then I just need to screw these guys. Okay, so here let's fix this part. So far so good. Then we'll put the aperture ring, and then here the tricky part is just to put the little ball in position. Then just to make sure it doesn't escape, we'll catch it. Okay, I was using the wrong orientation, so I come and then I catch it with the ring itself, and then I enter a bit sideways, and then here I have pick the okay, and then here we need to do an additional disassembly just to make sure the ring here is connected with this part here, and then there's this part you can remove to do exactly that. So we pick the part. We go to the close position. We pick it. I put it. We can do some little alignment here. Okay, we make sure we get the screws in position. Then we get these guys to work together. This is nice. Then just to finish the whole thing, we put the bayonet, and then the cue is that this lever here should meet the other lever, and then I just look for the little hole. Something is not okay. Maybe. Okay, here we are. Here we are. We put the 4 screws. Then this is it, a lot of work, but then at the end of the day we got our diaphragm to work again properly. So the happy owner will be glad to get that working again, because he was forced to use the lens only at full aperture since it was blocked. And then this is all I wanted to show today. Thanks for watching and see you next time.